Welcome to Danny's podcast on technology. I'm your host, Daniel Parente, here to talk all things tech and keep you plugged into the latest innovations and trends on the market. As professional writer and professor in the field of technology, my goal is to break down complex technology topics into bite-sized discussions for everyone. Grab a snack, settle in, and let's have some fun. Welcome to another episode of our podcast, where we will be tracing the winding story of classification. How humanity organizes information into orderly boxes to make sense of the world. I'm your host, Daniel Parente, calling in from the Library of Alexandria, home to numerous scrolls cataloging ancient knowledge. Our relationship with classification stretches back thousands of years. Early censuses counted citizens for taxation. Ancient libraries sorted topic-wise for searchability. But the intuition to group far precedes recorded history. Let's rewind the clock to follow major milestones in transforming this basic urge into formal systems that now power modern data-driven breakthroughs. How did we get from Abachi beads to machine learning algorithms classifying billions of internet images? Quite the journey indeed. Let's rewind to ancient civilizations and classifying to understand and administer. The instinct to collapse chaotic reality into orderly categories appears throughout ancient cultures. Farmers routinely classified livestock and crops. Chinese astrologers plotted celestial objects into patterns driving divination rituals. And governance needed measurement, tallying people and resources for the machinery of power. Pharaohs ruled ancient Egypt partially through classification. Scribes cataloged offerings to appease the gods. Labor resources were mined from periodic censuses classifying gender, age, and skills. Flood and famine risks relied on calendars tracking the Nile's oscillations. Of course, attached to all these earthly reports flowed prayers and tributes skyward to maintain cosmic order itself. Jump ahead a millennium, and ancient Indian Ayurvedic healers assembled medicinal classifications, groupings of plant and animal extracts to balance bodily energies. Veritable protochemistry! Likewise, stimulating classification cross-pollination, the Silk Road drove exchange between civilizations. New fruits, fabrics, and ideas appeared from distant lands, demanding their own categories. Across cultures and eras, classifying served both mystical and practical yearnings, imposing mental frameworks to combat uncertainty. Our ancestors sculpted external reality's messy populations and phenomena into orderly abstractions for nascent record-keeping. Fast-forwarding the march towards more modern classification science, let's leap into the 1600s, tracing key developments that drove classification closer to today's mathematical rigor. Carl Linnaeus standardized biological taxonomy, naming and sorting all organisms into a hierarchy. His seminal Systema Naturae framed modern zoology and botany around nested categories, balancing generalization with specificity: kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. Hash it out over tea, but your barnyard bovines are firmly kingdom Animalia, phylum Chordata, class Mammalia, order Artiodactyla, family Bovidae, genus Bos, and species Taurus. Data visualization brewed new classifying capabilities too, visually aggregating statistics. Joseph Priestley's 1765 Chart of Biography showcased a timeline for historical biographies. Legendary William Playfair pioneered modern line, bar, and pie charts unveiling hidden trends across economic time series. Florence Nightingale applied similar visual classification reasoning via coxcomb diagrams exposing hospital mortality causes. Probability theory and statistics also emerged as foundational frameworks for generalization, making inferences from samples to whole populations. Adolphe Quetelet pioneered social physics, classifying human traits into probability distributions and quantifying elusive patterns. Modern quantitative analysis was brewing. 19th century pioneers industrialized information flows with profound consequences. Melville Dewey championed modern library science, launching public card catalogs and classification systems gracing global institutions. Herman Hollerith birthed modern data processing, launching census tabulators that evolved into IBM. The 1800s closed amidst accelerating interplay between data gathering, models for abstraction, and mechanical tabulation, mixing currents en route to the coming computational age. Let's add some decades to our history and check how classification fuels global business and science. Trade and governance bloomed in scope and complexity by the early 20th century. Fledgling international post and telegraph fueled global flows. Scale necessitated additional data wrangling aids. Library of Congress or universal decimal systems provided classification beacons so knowledge wouldn't drift adrift in confusion. But standardizing notation was just half the puzzle. Conceptual advances mattered too for organizing specificity into coherent, simplifying frameworks without butchering subtle meanings. Hence, lively debates stirred scientific circles regarding balancing depth versus accessibility in biological taxonomies, psychometric personality models, and more. Classification marched into business and policy statistics also: inventory monitoring, demand forecasting, unemployment rates. Hierarchies and typologies powered efficiency. But risks loomed of tunnel vision from improper groupings. Misclassification within convenient dividing lines plagued marginalized populations. Nevertheless, the dominant narrative was onward progress. Fueled by computational punch card processing, classifications flooded insurance forms, bank statements, university research, economic advising, and beyond. Transforming subjective variables into crisp categories fueled 20th century governance and commerce. However, lines often blurred between enlightening measurement and mechanism of control. Time to jump to the computer age where classification scales up. Since 1950, the information deluge intensified exponentially, demanding analysis at unbelievable scales. First mainframes, then distributed ecosystems like cloud computing and Hadoop break big problems into little ones. Software stacks like Python and R offer tooling versatility. Graphical interfaces visualize underlying trends. Rising alongside hardware and analytics infrastructure bloomed increasingly sophisticated algorithms, both supervised learning systems like random forests that train on human-classified data, plus unsupervised approaches that find self-organizing structure. From handwritten digit recognition to genomic medicine, modern neural networks classify with near-magical accuracy. Agent-based modeling supports new classes of insights. Of course, perils persist of fetishizing metrics, stereotyping humans, and limiting worldviews. But used judiciously and ethically, today's interlinked computational arsenal overcomes biases that plagued individual human classifiers or simple statistical formulas. Integrating multiple classification models and data sources counterbalances limitations. Updating misconceptions lays groundwork for future nuance. Progress lifts once invisible voices. As philosopher George Santayana noted, those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. By tracing the context driving classification, we better navigate straighter paths ahead. And that wraps up another fun and hope-interesting episode of Danny's podcast on technology. As always, hit subscribe and ding that notification bell to join me next time. I had a blast geeking out over today's topic with you all. Feel free to connect on social media with any questions, comments, or suggestions for future episodes. I can't wait to connect more in the comments and bring another dynamic technology conversation your way soon. Until next time, my fellow tech heads, this is your host signing off. Stay curious and keep looking forward, my friends. The future awaits.